The quiet classroom was filled with the nervous shuffle of papers and the scratching sound of pencils against notebooks. A dozen young students sat stiffly in their chairs, eyes flicking between the chalkboard and the elegant woman standing in front of them. She was the CEO of one of the country's largest companies, a woman who carried herself with the kind of authority that silenced even the most restless child. Her visit was not just for show, she was here to inspire, to see talent, to discover the future hidden among ordinary faces. But no one expected that the brightest spark of brilliance that day would come from a little girl with worn shoes, an old backpack, and a secret that would leave the entire room stunned. The CEO's eyes moved carefully across the room, searching for something remarkable. She had been invited to evaluate a math competition held for underprivileged children, an effort sponsored by her company to invest in education. She expected talent, yes, but also expected to see the usual patterns. Children trained by private tutors, children with advantages, children prepared by someone with means. What she never expected was for a quiet little girl, barely 10 years old, to stand and present a formula on the board so complex, so precise, that even the CEO herself froze in disbelief. The symbols flowed across the chalkboard like art, each line of the calculation more flawless than the last. When the girl set down the chalk, there was silence. Then came a wave of astonishment that rippled through the teachers and judges alike. The CEO leaned forward. She asked the girl softly, almost unable to contain her curiosity, who had taught her something so advanced. The room seemed to hold its breath, as though the answer itself carried weight. The little girl looked around nervously before lifting her small hand and pointing toward the back of the hall. There, standing quietly with a mop in one hand and a cleaning bucket beside him, was the school janitor, her father. His uniform was faded, his shoes scuffed, and his hands were rough from years of hard labor. The entire room turned their gaze toward him, and in that single moment, a silence heavier than words filled the air. The janitor's eyes widened, his face flushing as if caught in a spotlight he never asked for. He lowered his head, uncomfortable with the attention, but the truth could not be hidden anymore. Night after night, after long shifts spent scrubbing floors and repairing broken pipes, he had sat down with his daughter at their small kitchen table, teaching her everything he had once learned and more. Though his own education had been cut short by poverty, his mind was sharp, his love for learning undimmed. He had refused to let life's hardships rob his daughter of opportunities, so he had poured everything he knew into her, believing quietly that one day she would stand where he never could. The CEO felt her throat tighten. This man, unseen by most, overlooked every day as just another janitor, had given his child a gift more valuable than wealth, knowledge, discipline, and the courage to dream. She realized then how blind society could be, how easily people judged worth by titles and clothes, forgetting that greatness often worked quietly in the shadows. The story spread beyond the school that very day. Teachers, parents, and even the judges of the competition were humbled. The CEO, shaken to her core, did something that would change the course of both the little girl's and her father's lives forever. She walked across the room, straight toward the janitor, and extended her hand with respect. That simple gesture was not just an acknowledgement, it was an announcement that his effort, his sacrifice, and his wisdom mattered. She offered his daughter a full scholarship, not just for school but through university, and she promised him that his quiet dedication would never again go unnoticed. But more than the scholarship, she asked something of the janitor himself. She requested that he come and work with her company's education program, not as a janitor, but as a mentor, someone who could guide children and parents alike in proving that learning and discipline are not bound by wealth or status. Tears filled his eyes, and for the first time in his life, he felt the dignity he had long deserved but never expected to receive. As the years passed, that little girl's life changed in ways she could hardly imagine. She grew into a confident young woman, excelling in her studies, mentored not just by teachers but inspired always by her father's resilience. And the janitor, now respected as an education advocate, remained the quiet force reminding everyone that even in the most humble places, brilliance could be found if only people cared to look. By the end of this story, one truth stands clear: greatness is not defined by position, wealth, or title. It is defined by love, sacrifice, and the belief that no dream is too small to nurture.